Hey guys, this is Set Paint and Play. Uh, this is the new Logitech camera that I found recently. Thank goodness. Been looking for it forever. So yeah, I thought I'd just test it out and go ahead and do a new video with you guys today. So lately I've been doing a lot of research on Age of Sigmar, and yeah, I know I can already hear the booing and hissing of all the anti Age of Sigmar fans, but I don't know. It's kind of frustrating because it's Games Workshop all in all, and I pretty much like just about everything that they put out. I've always played 40K. There's that. Any games that they put out that are digital, I've played all those. I've never played any fantasy before. I haven't played Moriam, or however you pronounce it. I have played Space Hulk before. That was a lot of fun, but I don't know. It's frustrating because it's a game that I want to get into, but there's so much negative feedback on it that it's hard to want to get into, I guess. Which sucks because it looks really cool and I like the models. And if anything, I want to be able to collect the models and just paint them, just to have them and collect them. Because especially like with the Skaven, I don't know why. There's something just about their colors and their ruggedness and stuff like that that makes them really interesting to me personally. But anyways, so I thought I would do a little bit of research. I would look things over. I'll watch videos, battle reports, do this and this and this and this, and get as much information as I possibly could, and try and get a positive review out of it. And if you guys aren't into listening at all and have completely turned your backs, and unless it goes to ninth edition or whatever, that's fine. To go ahead and close out the video now if you want. But I really want you guys to turn and take a second glance at the game. And maybe instead of saying, this sucks because the rules aren't complicated enough, or you don't have to spend hours and hours of time, doing this and that, and putting together lists and point collecting and all that different stuff. And um, if that's not your deal, then whatever, man. But I really want to have fun with this game. And whether that means that I have to collect several of my own armies and force my brother or girlfriend to play with me every once in a while, then I will. But I'm going to have fun with this game. So anyways, here's the review. I'm going to first start off with the Games Workshop side of things and maybe give you an idea of maybe why they did it. And this is just based off of obviously other people's opinions, what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've read about, things like that. So first things first, it was an unexpected move by Games Workshop. It drew a lot of attention. So it definitely spiked people's interest in them. So like veterans and people that haven't, played the game in years or whatever, were like, whoa, 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 there's a new fantasy coming out. Hey, maybe we should check this out. So it drew a lot of attention. Maybe possibly brought in new buyers because people were like, hey, this is the new edition of Warhammer. Let's go ahead and buy more models. So they were trying to break the mold instead of just saying, all right, here's 9th edition, here's 10th, here's 11th, yada, yada, yada. Just the same old crap over and over and over. So that was probably one thing. It generated a lot of hype, like I was saying. Fantasy was a dying game. According to a lot of people, they were saying that it was roughly about 15 to 17% of Games Workshop sales, and it was continuously dropping. So, I mean, why hold on to something if it's bleeding you out, So, I don't know. I mean, they easily could have just said, you know what, this isn't working for us. We don't want to like models for it anymore, and just like that. Like Battlefleet Gothic, they don't make that game anymore. And I don't know if that's specifically made by Games Workshop or if that's Fantasy Flight or something like that. But I mean, they just lopped it off. It's gone. You can't, unless you go on eBay or something like that, you really can't come by it anymore. That and Epic Warhammer, the like super tiny miniatures game that's like this itty bitty, and you can basically have like massive, huge armies, massive scale battles with it. But you have to buy it all on eBay, and all the models are like either I think pewter or metal or something like that, and they're really ugly and old, and I mean you really just can't put that together anymore. So as cool of a game as that is, because that's kind of what I thought Warhammer was when I first got into it. I thought it was going to be these massive scale battles, but more it's really like smaller scale type stuff, you know. So, anyways, it allows them to start with a clean slate. They literally just lopped off the game at, I think it's 8th edition, I'm pretty sure, and then said, we're going to take all that away. And they give you completely brand new stuff, a whole brand new world, you know, for them to expand on and do whatever, and this and that and this, and take it in whatever direction. So, personally for me, if someone, you know, like revamped Star Wars, which basically they've done, at least from just a different perspective, I'm stoked. I'm excited. And by the way, that movie was awesome for those of you who didn't like it. So, um, even though it was the same story on repeat. Um, this allows new models to come out because if they can take it in a new direction, maybe they can introduce a new army, or maybe they can introduce this or that or whatever, or introduce new lands or stuff. And I know that they introduce new terrain. I'm pretty sure whenever they release Age of Sigmar. So this allowed for more play, allowed for more scenery, you know, viewability, more painting, more projects, more this, more this, more that, more that. Sorry, I'm getting excited. And allows them to just basically expand on the game instead of just giving you the same old crud over and over and over. And yeah, you know what? If you're used to something and it works, that's great. But every once in a while, it's good to start fresh. It's good to have change. Like the company that I worked at, I mean, we were originally just a simple, you know, gas and go type place. And now we're having to turn our gears more towards food because gas and cigarettes are going downhill and we won't be able to sell it one day. It's just not going to be available. We won't be able to make money off it. So like Games Workshop, they lopped off the old fantasy and they started a new one so they could keep going. It's a good business practice, one way or another. I mean, whether you like it or not, you know, I mean, you got to be original nowadays. You can't just keep doing the same stuff over and over because people have seen it all. There's too much internet. There's too much TV. There's too much everything because everybody's done it and seen it all. So, let's see, what's next? For Games Workshop. Oh, and I know the new models being released and stuff. The new ones look like Golden Space Marines. Sorry about that. It allows new players to come to the game easily. Whenever I first got into Warhammer 40K or whatever, I was like, hey, this isn't too bad. And then I started looking at the prices. I was like, what the heck? I don't even know if I want to get into this. Because they're like, hey, you need a rule book. So I was like, okay, how much is a rule book? You know, $15 or something, right? No, it was like $80. I was like, screw that for a freaking book. And on top of that, I needed a codex, which is $40. And so I'm already at $120, which, you know, for most people, some people are like, well, whatever, you know, $120. But then on top of that, you got to have an army. And to even play a decent game, you need at least 1,000 points, and that's going to roughly run you, depending on if you shop on eBay or not, between like $300 and $500. I mean, for a decent, like well-balanced, something that you actually enjoy painting and playing with and using, and you know, it's going to cost you a good chunk of change. Yeah, you can snag a good Space Marines army on eBay for $250, $200, whatever. But at the same time, like, that was really discouraging whenever I first started. And it actually led me to quitting for the very first time back a couple of years ago. And on top of that, it was hard. You know, I had to buy, I went out and bought all the paints. I did all the extras that I could do. You know, I did this, I did that. I bought all the extra gear. I've spent, if I had to guess, easily so far in my life, don't anybody tell my girlfriend. In total, I've spent at least $1,500 on this game. At least. Buying all my armies, all the paints, all the projects that I've done. Goodness gracious, all the buildings and crap that I've come up with, and or cans of spray paint and glue and just crap that I don't even need. But I love the game so much that I stick with it. So, it allows. So, you know, as a new player, that would be discouraging to come in and see those prices. But now with the new lower prices, you know, you can buy one squad, elect one guy a leader, and then your friend can buy a squad, or you can buy skeletons, or your friend can buy, some orcs, or, whatever, and you can say, all right, this is my leader, and he's like, all right, this is my army leader, or whatever, and then you just run them at each other, and all you really need is a measuring tape dice, and, a measuring tape from your dad's toolbox. You download the PDF for the War Scrolls, you download the rules, from Games Workshop website, you buy a box of Chessex dice for, what, $12 or something like that. You can get, like, I think it's something like 30 or 40 dice or something like that. So, I mean, really, it doesn't cost anything to play the game anymore. It's like $100 and you're set total, and you could probably get a decent army going with that. So, that allows also for kids to get started, because if you can get them started early, then they're going to want to buy more. The more they play it, the more they go on, the older they get and stuff like that, and then they're going to get their kids into it, and it's a generational thing. So it's definitely on their part a good go. I personally think, this is just me guessing, it allows them to sell more models, because you're allowed to mix and match your armies now. And instead of saying, all right, I'm going to have only Bretonia, cavalrymen, or only this type of orc, or this type of orc, or only this type of, chaos warriors with this one dark wizard, or something like that. It allows you to mix and match those between death, chaos, and order, So, also, one thing that I haven't seen, but I thought of, is the rules are simple. And because they're simple, that means Games Workshop has to do less updates. They have to answer less questions. They have, less support teams having to come up with new ideas and things like that for the rules, or having to fix them, or having confusions, or, things canceling each other out because, the rules weren't 100% looked at before they shipped them out. So this allows for, I would assume, having to have less employees. So you're having less people do, tedious whatever work that could easily just be solved by simplifying the rules. So that's really all I have on their side. I'm going to go ahead and do a player side of how it positively affects us and what we can do in our, with the game now that we have all of our benefits. So, first things first, veteran players. You can use your old models. Alright, sorry, I had to stop for a second. Anyways, like I was saying, you veterans, you can use your old models to play the game. So the startup cost is literally free for you guys. You don't have to buy a new set of rules. You don't have to buy new War Scrolls or Codex or whatever, whatever it's called. Then, like I was saying, the rules are free. The War Scrolls are free, so they're all downloadable for everybody. So it makes the game all the more appealing, I would think, personally. The rules are simpler, so you're not having to sit there and look at 3 different tables, trying to figure out, this is to wound whenever I'm shooting my bow, this is to wound whenever I'm hitting, this is to wound whenever I'm using this type of magic, and does it affect this character because he has this type of armor and this helmet on, and this. It's just, sometimes having all that is great, like if you have a game that's super complex, that's supposed to be realistic, like Dungeons and Dragons. This is a game where you're supposed to be able to sit down, play within an hour, and that includes like writing your list and stuff like that. And, sometimes it's frustrating, because I would go up to whenever I used to go to the shop that I used to go to, I would go up to the shop and I would try and get in a game of 40K. And by the time we wrote out our list and stuff like that, we would have like an hour and a half left. Like, we wouldn't have any time left before the store closed. And, I only had this much time after I got off of work. So it's like, after everybody's done screwing around, you actually get serious and you actually write your list and you get your model set up and then you're ready to, it just goes by so fast. So, I think it's important that the rules are simple, that you don't have to sit there and banter back and forth. No, this is what I think. No, this is what they think. Da 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 da. All that crap. That's just not necessary for a game. Like if you're sitting there arguing with your friends over little bitty rules like that all the time, then it doesn't make the game fun. So it's definitely nice that things are just this is how it is. Play it like this, and that'll be the end of it. So um, okay, with newer and newer people coming into the game because it is simpler and it is more free and it costs less, this is going to allow the community to grow and flourish and include more people. And like one guy said before, it's going to allow non-neckbeard types and non-rule mongers to be included in the game, which would be awesome. Because don't get me wrong, I liked all the guys at my local shop, but some of them were weird, and some of them hadn't bathed in several days. And I got nothing against that. Hey, I mean, each man or woman to themselves, but I mean, it would be weird sometimes. So it'd be nice to have, you walk in and you can say, "Hi, my name's Alex," without them wearing some sort of weird like zebra hat or something like that. I don't freaking know. So I think it'll help expand and grow the community. And with that being happening, that means that they can expand to their friends and stuff like that. And it's not stuck to people who are quote unquote nerds. So, I know there are a lot of now currently that the game has been out for a while, pre-made comps for the game that allow you to set your own rules, allow you to fix some of the things that people wanted done and the balancing and things like that. And that is all fixed through the community now instead of Games Workshop having to do it all. And if people don't like it, then it's not a Games Workshop. People can just choose another type of thing that people have been doing. Like there's something called the Swedish comp system. I don't know what that is. Apparently, it's one of the most popular systems because I've heard it quite a few times. So it kind of allows Games Workshop to be hands-free on it. Like they can just kind of put it out there and then let you guys run with it, which is the most important thing. I think for a game company to do that, that is like mind-blowing. Because normally it's here's the rules, play by this, cut, done, deal. With this, it allows you to, all right, here's these rules. Well, I don't like that rule. Can we flip it around where it does this instead? Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can try that for this time, and if you want to, we can make it a house rule if it works. So, make up your own rules. Be creative. Don't rely on the system. Whatever. Um, let's see. The gameplay's gotten a lot quicker with a smaller amount of rules. You can just pretty much get going like that. Let's see. The investment is smaller, so like I said before, for people to walk into a shop and see that the price tag to start the game is $200 roughly with a simple army just to get the war scroll and that's going to kill a lot of people. But now with it being less models, less painting, less time doing this or that or whatever, or learning the rules or whatnot. Because like for me, it took me almost a year to fully learn without playing and just like reading over the rules and watching battle reports and stuff like that without personally playing Warhammer 40K. It took me about a solid year to learn it. And even then, there are still a lot of times I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So that kind of tells me that the game is a little too complicated sometimes. So, I mean, yeah, now that I'm here and know what I know, I'm like, oh man, I was an idiot. It's just like this. It's super easy. But, yeah, because it takes less time, I think you will have more people involved in the community and wanting to play because it'll, obviously take less time. That's what I'm getting across. It takes less time. It takes less. And people nowadays are lazy. I'm sorry to say it, but you are. Every one of you. Myself included. I know that there's a lot of concern about whether the games are going to be friendly or competitive. I think a lot of it's more leaning toward a friendly gameplay, which is honestly what you're gonna play at your local game store. Not a lot of people are in it to be like, oh, I gotta win. Some people are like that, but usually those are the people that are no fun to play against because they have like super elitist Death Star armies and whatever. So I think it's more friendly and it's more sticking to being okay with everybody, I guess. I don't know. It's just supposed to be fun, guys. It's a game. And I think what's happened is people are taking it too seriously and making it into like a total lifestyle, which I might or might not be guilty of. Okay, for you vets, it is a completely new game, more or less. So one thing that I read, pardon me, is that there was a guy who supposedly, I worked for Games Workshop for 57,000 years, da, 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 da. But he said that he came back after quitting Warhammer, in like the early mid 2000s or something like that, and coming back to it and being able to play right off the bat without, having to relearn everything and do this and that and whatever. He could just, dust off his models and get back to it. And he said that was nice. He said that it was, um, uh, it was frustrating because it was a completely different game, but at the same time, it was new. He could just jump right into it and get going, and it was new. It wasn't the same old. All right, well, we're just gonna roll this. And as far as the combat goes, I've heard it's a little bit more boring, and it's not as completely unique. But at the same time, it's also a lot simpler. So I mean, I think what Games Workshop is doing is they're trying to make their company like their company's supposed to be, and that's a modeling company before a gaming company. So they're encouraging you to buy the models so that you can play into the game, and even though the game's not like all there and super complicated and stuff, um, it makes it simple. So you can still play the game, but it's more about collecting the models, I think. And that's why I think these newest models have like so much detail and pop and just, glamour to them that really made you like, oh wow, I really want to get those and just paint them up. So, I don't know. As far as I know, it's a new game. It's something to get interested in, to be excited about. I think that's what's important. Um, One thing that I read over and I didn't even think of is the games are supposed to be more cinematic now, and the bases are round, which gives you more room in between your characters and things like that, so that they're not just arranged in these neat little rows and stuff. Even though that's easier to use on the table, they are now more. Um, you can use them to kind of like set up a scene or a battle, or like it's a whole new experience. It's a visual thing. Um, and then also there was a lot of talk about linked games where like you play one game and then because the outcome of that game determines the benefit of what happens in the next game. So like let's say, your high elves facing humans or something like that, and the high elves, blow a dam, then that takes out the catapults for the human, so they can't use their catapults next one round, so they have to come up with a new type of tactic to work against the high elves or whatever. So yeah, I definitely think that allows for more fun and exciting gameplay and gives it kind of like a unique gives you like a desire to invest into the game. So another thing that I came across, I'm not sure if it's 100% true because I haven't played the game personally myself. So if you guys are just gonna totally negate me for that, then whatever. But horde armies really don't work in this game anymore, is what I've heard. So a lot of people were saying that most hordes were usually about 40 models a piece, which can get expensive, especially if the units are only about 10 guys a piece. Most horde armies are okay at about 20 models, so that it literally cut the game's price by half. Definitely one thing that they did for every model is they made the stats more streamlined. So the stats are your move distance, your wounds, your save, and then your bravery. And that's all you got to remember. All the attack, all the like damage and weapons and all that stuff is all in the weapon itself. So like it obviously declares whether it's a ranged or a melee weapon, but then it tells like the attack and then what you need to hit and it gives you that information on that weapon. And I'm pretty sure it's pretty simple. I think a lot of them are like +3, +4 to hit on like most of them. So it's usually like, right, these guys have this sword, boop, these guys have this sword, boop, these guys have spears, boop, and it's super easy. Another thing that they introduced is something called sudden death, and it allows for players with less models to play against players with more models and more years of collecting. Because what happens is if the player who is playing against you has a third more arm models or wounds, I think is the points value technically, than you do, then you get special objectives, and if you complete those objectives, then it immediately ends the game. So it kind of gives you like the ability to play against players that have huge, massive armies if you have, a little less than they do. Or it allows people to play together who don't have the same amount of points, who want to play, let's say this person wants to bring all their cavalry, their lightning cannon or whatever, this person wants to, and then, they want to bring every single one of the troops because they like them and they just finished painting them. And this person only has like, let's say that's like 100 wounds. I don't know, supposedly that's big. And then this guy over here has only got like 40 wounds or 50 wounds or, upwards of closer to like 60 wounds or something like that. But he still wants to play this guy because he's never played him before. But instead of this guy having to like bring down the amount of stuff that he's bringing, this guy over here can go ahead and fight against him. But if he kills like his warlord or kills a certain wizard or does this or captures this objective, it ends the game and it allows this guy the ability to win, even though he's facing against excessive odds. And then another thing is I didn't quite understand it because I haven't seen a whole lot of it. So, but apparently magic has been simplified. It's basically like, here's your spells, you can de-spell, and that's it. I'm pretty sure. It's like 2 or 3 rolls tops, and that's it. Instead of like, all right, here's this roll, here's what it does. All right, now roll for the random effect. Does it hit? Can I negate it? It's not like 5, 6, 7 rolls or whatever, or however many it used to be. I apologize if I'm wrong on that. Like I said, I've never personally played a game of Warhammer Fantasy. So, most definitely. And another thing, guys, Games Workshop isn't stopping you from playing 8th edition at all. So I don't know what you're crying about. Yeah, it's the new edition, but that doesn't mean that you have to play it. I have the iPhone 5 or something like that, and I still love it. I don't have an i6 or i6s or 7 or whatever they're on now. Like, if I could, I would have kept my 4, but the battery was dying so fast that I literally like would plug it in and then it would die. It was like instantly it would die. And you don't always have to have the newest and greatest and best. Play 8, fix what rules you want to fix, make your own house rules and say this is how this is going to happen and balance it out and get some help and get on forums and do that stuff and just go with that if that's what you want to do. But don't quit the game. Don't be like that dude that burned his army. That guy was an idiot. He probably had spent, judging by the size, and if he had bought it new, probably close to like $200 or $300 on that stuff. And then he had to go buy the lighter fluid, which is another like $5 or $6, and then the lighter, which is $12 or whatever, because lighter is expensive. And then on top of that, he had to take the time to like make the video. And just don't be a freaking idiot like that guy. Come on. I mean, it was a good laugh. I was like, yeah, what an idiot. But I mean, outside of that, like, it was pointless. He could come back and play any section of the game he wanted. I mean, it's like I had a group of friends at one point that were back playing Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, because it was fun. It was screwed up, and it didn't work properly all the time, and there was a lot of confusing things that we didn't understand. That Fourth Edition or even Fifth Edition now are way simpler. It was just because it was fun and it was confusing and it was more difficult and yada yada. So. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, that's what it's called. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Games Workshop isn't forcing you to play this. They're not saying, quit because it's the thing to do. But it was, I don't know, it was definitely concerning, especially coming from like a player who has never played before that wants to get into it. It's frustrating because it's like, will I be able to get a battle? Will anyone even want to talk to me about the game? Will, this or that? And it's like, it's like the only way I guess I can explain it is like, it's like a hard math problem and a simple math problem. Um, you know, I don't even know where I was going with that. It's, it's just hard trying to go into it and wanting to be positive and excited about it when all there is negative. That's cut and dried. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry that I made it this little. But I definitely think that the community needs to take a step back, take a breather, accept that change is going to happen one way or another because the company has to survive. Without them, you will not be able to play your games. You will not be able to play Warhammer. You will not get the stories. It will end. Obviously, people can keep writing books and stuff like that, but what are you gonna do? Um, so this video has been running forever. I just wanted to say thank you for if you stuck around. I hope that some of my ideas or things like that will help re-interest you in the game, possibly reigniting your fire to maybe back up your brush and keep painting your models. Maybe to go back to your store and say, talk to a friend and be like, hey, are you getting bored of like 40K or something? Do you want to take a break for a little while? We each buy a box of this and just play a quick couple of games or whatever and bust it out once in a blue moon. And for you veterans, stop being a bunch of wusses, for real, dude. Like, some of you guys are bitching a lot. Like, like, there are some people that are getting on YouTube and throwing like screaming little 5-year-old baby fits for no reason. If you don't want to play Age of Sigmar, screw it. Go play 8. I don't want you here. I don't know. I'm tired of the negativity of the game. I think it's a positive thing. I think it's great. I think it has the ability to grow and go somewhere and become a great game. And whether that means that someone in the community has to step up, and write a whole new set of comps or rules or whatever that fixes whatever it takes care of, get on the why don't you, instead of whining so much about it on the forums, why don't you guys get on the forums and say, all right, here's problem number 1, and then bam, 15 people list out a problem, a solution to the problem. Then you guys all upvote the one that you like the most, and then write it in your book or whatever, or work on it with your friends or whatever, or work on it with the guy that manages your game show. I'm sure most of them are relatively intelligent about the game, or they should be. Because if they're not, it's kind of embarrassing if you own a game shop but you don't really know what you're selling. So, anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment to think of what I said and stay positive with the game. I definitely hope to get into Warhammer Fantasy, or Age of Sigmar, whichever you choose to call it. Eventually, hopefully you'll see videos. And yeah, you guys have a great week, and I will see you soon.